Welcome to the world of BioForge. In this video, I will walk you through what a card looks like, the steps to build your creature, and finally, how to battle against a rival. Let's start with the 7 card types: head, torso, arm, legs, hybrid, biomes, and traits. The first 5 will be used to create your creature, while the final 2 help add variety to each game played. All of the creature parts have a similar card setup. The name of the card, gecko leg. The type of part, each of the circles filled in tells you which part it can actually fill in for. In this case, this is a hybrid card. So it can take either arm slot or the leg slot. Then we have your number of attacks. So this is the number of dice you would roll when this part attacks. Then you have the target. That is the number you have to roll at least to get a hit. So in this case, a roll of 5 or a 6 would be a hit for the gecko leg. Then finally, we have the hearts. This is the total life of this part. If this part is ever reduced to 0, this part is destroyed. Then at the bottom, we have the special ability. In white, it has both the phase where this special ability takes place, and then also any potential biome restrictions or requirements that this part needs in order to actually have its ability trigger. In this case, this triggers before an attack in the forest or mountain biomes, and if those are satisfied, it adds +1 attack, so an extra dice, to all of your attacks. Gameplay consists of 2 phases: creature creation and creature battling. Let's start with creature creation. Creature creation consists of a draft and then a later selection of cards. So to start the draft, we put aside the biomes and the traits for now, and we focus on the parts. You will take 1 head, 1 torso, 2 arms, 1 legs, and 1 hybrid to build your initial creature. Just for this example, I will also be drafting a second card, creature, so that you can see what an actual draft looks like. All right. So if we start with our initial cards that we drew, we have a shark head, an exoskeleton, a hummingbird wing, an armored claw, crab legs, and jellyfish tentacles. You can choose any one of these cards to keep, and then you have to pass the remaining 5 to some other player. In this case, since there's only 2 of us, it's to the other person. But if you were playing with multiple people, you would pass to the left. Let's start with our draft with a shark head. I'll take the shark head, put the other 5 into a pile, and pass to my rival. My rival goes through the same process. Maybe they decide to choose something different. They like their quills. So they're going to take that and pass me this pile. Repeat this process until you have drafted 6 cards, of which you have the same combination of cards that you started with. So you'll need to end with a head, you'll need to end with 2 arms, you'll need to end with hybrid, a legs, and a torso. Because everyone is following this, everyone should be able to get to this point. Because no one can have more than what they started with, so everyone will get the exact same combination of cards that they started with. Let's continue the draft to show you how this plays out. So my shark head decides he likes some falcon wings, so he will grab one of those for him. The rival will decide that they are feeling like they want some jellyfish tentacles. Again, you switch piles. So now my shark head is back, because there's 2 of us, to the original pile that he had. He notices there are some cards missing now, but he's going to go with another set of wings for his other arms. Rival will go for the head this time, starting to fill out their animal. Pass again. Shark head. They cannot draft the arms because they already have 2. So they have to pick either the legs or the hybrid. In this case, they are going to go with their legs to start to pad out their bottom of their animal. The wasp head cannot take the exoskeleton because they already have a torso, so they have to go with the armored claws or the crab legs. In this case, they will go with the armored claws. Shark head. Again, compare what they have with what is left. They cannot take the crab legs. It matches the slot of the padded feet, and so they take the exoskeleton. That means the wasp head will be left with the crab legs, and so they look at their last 2 cards, realize they cannot take the cockroach limbs. They already have jellyfish tentacles in the hybrid slot. Pass that to the shark head. They get the moth wings. At the end of this, you can see everyone now has 6 parts. They've got that same head, same torso, 2 arms, legs, and hybrid that they started with, but they've been able to pick and choose some of this, so their animal is a little bit more tied together than if you just picked 6 random cards. Now, once you've done this, there's one final phase to the creature creation. That is the final selection of 3 cards of any type from the center piles. So if we look at the shark, maybe the shark doesn't like his hybrid cards. He thinks he could do better than a cockroach limb, which could take the slot of any of these legs or arms. So he will take 2 hybrids face down, and then he decides maybe he doesn't like his torso. So he will take a 3rd torso. Takes these 3 cards and adds them to his set of 9. So now I have 9 cards that I can build my animal with. Your final animal, if we move these cards out of the way, your final animal is going to consist of a cross made up of 5 parts. It is always going to have a head. It is always going to have 2 arm slots. It's always going to have a torso, and it's always going to have some kind of legs. Mirrors what the card in the left side says. So you're always going to have this visual layout of your pieces. Now, as we discussed, you have some extras. So I have an extra torso that I could use, and I have 3 hybrid cards that could go in any one of these 3 spots, because all 3 of these hybrids and every hybrid could take an arms or legs. So you take your 9 cards and you decide what you want your final 5 to look like. In this case, the shark is going to be fine with essentially his original build, and he's going to stick with these, taking the final 4 cards and just returning them back to the center pile. You're no longer going to need this, so there's no point in keeping them. If we do that with our rival, who has a wasp head, he's going to keep that. He's going to keep his quills. He's going to keep his crab legs. He's going to keep some armored claws, and he's going to keep a moth wing, taking the jellyfish tentacle and deciding he doesn't want to use that this game. Now we have finished the creature creation. We have 2 different animals, our rival and ours, with 5 unique parts. We can move to the battle phase, the second and final phase. The start of the battle phase makes us look at our animals. Now that we've built them, we want to assign traits. We've paired off with our rival, so once you've built all of your creatures, you pair off with one other person to compare a head-to-head combat. Now that we have this head-to-head comparison, we look at the traits I was talking about earlier. These traits look very similar to our basic cards, with a name and then some kind of ability that has the phase trigger, letting you know when you should consider this ability. There are 5 of them, matching our 5 different animal categories. There are reptiles, there are avian, there are aquatic, there are mammals, and there are insects. How we assign these traits is by comparing the number of these specific animal parts between the two paired animals. So if we start with reptiles, we count up on the wasp's head how many reptile parts they have. These are matched by color. So green to green, there's 1. If we look on the shark head, there's no green. They have no reptile parts. So the wasp's head has the reptilian trait. Then we go to birds, avian. Look at the wasp, there is no gray, so no avian parts. If we look at the shark head, they have 2 parts, the hummingbird wing, falcon wing. So now the shark head has the avian trait. Let's move to aquatic. Wasp head has 1, crab legs. Shark head also has 1. If there is a tie, neither of them get this. So we put that off to the side. Do the same thing for the mammal trait. 1 quills, 1 padded feet, tied, nothing. And then finally, insects. 2 for the wasp head, 1 for the exoskeleton. That means this goes to the wasp head. All right, now we have assigned our parts and we can move into the actual battling. But before we do that, let's talk about card status. There are 3 different types of statuses: readied, exhausted, and destroyed. Readied means your cards are straight up and down and they have not done anything this round. They can attack, they can be attacked, their abilities can still trigger, they are good to go. Exhausted, if your card is flipped to your side, means that they cannot attack this round. If this part becomes the target of an attack, the attacking part may roll an additional 1 die. We'll go over this again when we get to the actual attacks. But the other thing is, once you're exhausted, your abilities no longer trigger. They are no longer considered for the rest of this round. The third and final is destroyed. If a part is destroyed, meaning all of its health total is down to 0, you flip it over and it is no longer part of the game. The only way to win this is to have your opponent's parts completely destroyed, so you will start to see parts become destroyed as we progress through a battle. All right, let's go to the start of the round. This is the first round, so it's less important, but at the start of the round, you take all exhausted parts, maybe these parts were exhausted, and flip them to readied position. They are ready to go for another round. The second thing you do is you draw a card from the biome deck, and you flip it face up. This is the biome that we are fighting in this round. On the surface, the biome doesn't do anything by itself, but you will notice that there are cards that specifically care about your biomes and make their special abilities either stronger or actually trigger, depending on where we are fighting. All right, we've started the round. Everyone's ready to go. We've got our biome. Let's determine who goes first. The way to do this is by counting up all of the attack of your animal. We're trying to see who is the most aggressive of the animals. So we would have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 attack on the wasp head side, and then 4, 8, 12, 13, 14, 17 on the shark head. So shark head gets to go first. It is more aggressive. This means that the shark gets to choose which one of its parts will attack first, and the wasp will have to defend first. All right, we've determined who gets to go first, so we start to check all of our abilities. Is there anything that says round start? It looks like there's nothing that says round start. Oh, there is one. It's the avian trait. Round start. You always go first each round. In this game, it doesn't really matter. The shark head already is the aggressor, but this would trump the typical manner of deciding who gets to go first, so the shark head will still go first either way. Now the shark gets to attack. Attacking in the battle phase is a back and forth delegation of which one of your parts do you want to attack singular part on the opponent. So you start with the attacker. They will choose one of their parts to attack. In this case, maybe they'll go with the shark head first. So you nominate the shark head, and then they choose one of the rival parts to attack next. In this case, they will go for the crab legs. So we've got the shark head versus the crab legs. Let's move into checking the phases. First, attack. Are there any before attack effects that they want to use? Let's see. Before attack, +1 lightning bolt, so at +1 attack. If in water, +2 attack. We are not in water, we are in plains. To shark head's attack if target is not at max health. Crab legs hasn't taken any damage, so this ability unfortunately does not actually trigger. Let's check some other ones. Before attack, +2 lightning bolts, so +2 attack to your first attack each round if you have another wing. All right, we have another wing. We've got hummingbird wing. So that means the shark head will get +2 attack this round. And then finally, we've got padded feet. This says before attack, +1 attack to your attacks if you attacked second this round. Again, we attacked first, so unfortunately this one does not trigger for us, but this one does. So we can go to the next step. Defense. Are there any before defending abilities that they want to use? Let's check. Doesn't look like they have any before defense abilities. All right, now we can move to the 5th step of the attack. The shark head takes its normal attack value, so that's 4 dice, adds any impacts from the before attacks, so +2 dice, so 6 total dice. Now it gets to roll these dice and tries to hit a number equal to or greater than its target, which in this case is a 4. So it needs 4, 5, or 6. All right, pretty good roll so far. So I've got 2 5s, 2 6s, a 1, and a 3. Now we would check if the target is exhausted. We'd mentioned this earlier, but if this target part is exhausted, I would get to reroll one of these. Again, this is not exhausted, so this step 6 doesn't actually take into effect this round. We go to step 7. All right, we've rolled the dice. Let's move to defense. Defense gets to look at any of their after defense abilities and trigger them. So let's go left to right. Mothwing. You may force rival to reroll 1 attack or 2 if rival attacked first this round. Sharkhead did attack first, so he has to reroll 2 dice. Takes the 2, re-rolls them. All right, he lost one of his hits. Now he only has 3 left. Then let's go to quills. Roll a die for each damage your part would suffer. For each 5 or 6 rolled, deal 1 damage to rival part. All right, so I would suffer 3. So they will take 3 dice and roll 3 dice. I got 2 6s, so I will take these 2 6s, and Shark actually takes that much damage. Now, how you want to record the damage is up to you. Some people like to just put total number of dice on there to indicate 2 damage. Some people like to indicate how much damage is done to them or indicate how much health is left. It's completely up to you as long as both you and your rival understand what you're doing and you're consistent across all of your parts. In this instance, I'm going to keep track of it by spinning down how much life is left. So we just look at this, and instead of the 5, Sharkhead now has a 3. All right, so we're still left with 3 damage that are coming through so far. Armored Claws. After defense, each round prevent 1 damage from rival's first attack. This is our first attack, so we take 1 more of these damage and prevent it. All right, we are left with 2. So 2 finally gets through to the crab legs after all of the after defense. Now the offense gets to check any after attack abilities. Hummingbird has an after attack ability that says you may reroll 2 dice if you have another wing. I do have another wing, so I can actually take these 2 dice back and re-roll them. All right, this 3 still misses because we need 4s or up, and we got 1. So now we're back to 3. So there's been some back and forth here, but at the end of the day, 3 damage was done to the crab legs. It only has 1 life left. All right, last part of the attacking phase, you take your head, and now it's exhausted. So the rest of this round, it will not be able to attack. Now, the other rival gets to combat against you. So they do the same process, and this is going to go back and forth each time with one person nominating one of their part to attack another part. They will do a similar thing. They'll attack with Wasp Head. So they'll check Wasp Head, and they're going to attack Hummingbird Wing. They're going to check all of their before attack abilities. So they have crab legs that says before attack if in water or plains. We are in plains, so this triggers -1 target to your attacks. So this target score goes from a 4 to a 3. So it's a little bit easier for the Wasp Head to actually hit. Then we can check our other abilities. Reptile trait. Before attack, you may treat the current biome as any biome you want when using your other abilities. Well, we already are in the biome we want, so this doesn't matter for this round. But in future rounds, if we aren't already in a plains or a water, this may be very helpful for keeping our crab legs going. And then finally, insect traits. Your rolls of 5 or 6 cannot be prevented. Good to know. We will trigger that, and we'll keep that in mind as we move down the attack phase. All right, then we look at before defense. If we look on our left-hand side, there are no before defense, so there's nothing to do there. We can go straight into the rolling the dice. Wasp Head, 3 dice, needing 3s. So we'll take those 3 dice, we will roll them. All right, that's 3 hits so far. Again, we check, is this part exhausted? It is not exhausted, so we don't get to re-roll any of these initially. Let's move to after defense. All right, we do have 1 after defense, exoskeleton. This says roll a die for each damage your part would suffer. For each 5 or 6 rolled, prevent 1 damage. All right, so we'll take our 3 dice because we got 3 hits and try to see if we can prevent any of it. Unfortunately, we did not roll a 5 or a 6, so none of this damage is prevented. We can move to the after attack phase. Wasp Head has an after attack. Damage dealt to by Wasp Head is doubled. So this 3 actually becomes 6 damage, which, if we check the Hummingbird Wing, is more than enough to kill it. So Hummingbird Wing is dead. And we can move to the final step, which is to exhaust Wasp Head. This will go back and forth until all parts are either dead or exhausted from both parts. Once that happens, the round is over and we proceed to round 2. I'm going to play this out just quickly so that you can kind of see how it goes without any voiceover, and we'll move to the second round. All right, we have finished the first round. As you can see, another part died. A lot of damage was dealt to this, but nothing died on the right-hand side. And you could see there that even though the left-hand animal was out of parts, the right-hand animal got to keep fighting until all of their parts were exhausted. All right, let's move to round 2. Unexhaust everything, so let's make them all readied. But damage stays on and death stays permanent. So you can see our animals are starting to get a little bit weaker. They're starting to get a little bit smaller. The round should go even faster as we near the end. Check any round starts. Avian trait, again, gets to let us go first. If we didn't have this, let's say this was gone, we would recheck all of the lightning bolts, all of the attack. So maybe because we're missing 2 parts here, this animal would be more aggressive. And in fact, that is the case. This only has 9 to this's original 12. So this would be able to go first if it wasn't for the avian trait. All right, so we've established our first player. Let's flip the new biome, a forest. Now, this is important because it doesn't match either of the 2 biomes requirements that these 2 parts have. So we'll want to keep that in mind as we go through. Again, Sharkhead will go first this time, and he's going to try to finish off those mothwings. So he has 4 dice to start with. He gets +1 to Sharkhead's attack if target is not at max health. It is no longer at max health. It only has 1 left. So he gets 5. 5 dice. There are no before defenses, so he rolls them. That's 5 hits. The Mothwing can force them to re-roll up to 2. He's not going to do that because he's going to die either way, and he wants to keep maximum amount of damage for the quills to put back onto the Sharkhead. So the quills will take those 5 dice and see if they can do any damage back. 3 damage is done back. That actually kills the Sharkhead. So the Sharkhead dies and the Mothwing dies. A brutal first attack. These quills have done a lot of damage to the poor shark. All right, their round is over. Move to the Wasphead's turn. The Wasphead is going to try to finish off the exoskeleton. So they get 3 dice. No before attack, no before attack. We do have this before attack again that says you may treat the current biome as any biome you want when using your other abilities. So we're going to trigger this, making this forest whatever we want. In this case, we want it to be a plains because we want the crab legs to be able to trigger. So the crab legs now add -1 to your target score for your attack. So instead of a 4, you just need a 3. Nice and easy. And then finally, insect trait. Your rolls of 5 or 6 cannot be prevented. So if we roll a 5 or 6, the exoskeleton, even though it says it could prevent some damage, our insect trait negates that. All right, 3 dice, needing 3s. We got 3 hits, one of which is a 6, so that cannot be prevented. That will do the last damage to the exoskeleton, killing that. So one last part on the left side animal. It's struggling right now, but it will try its final attacks. So padded feet will try to kill the crab legs. Again, 3 dice, no before defenses. The before attack doesn't do anything because we attacked first. So roll 3 dice. It got 1 hit, and that's all it needed. Quills does get to respond, takes the 1 dice. Ooh, a hit onto the padded feet. So padded feet only has 2 health left, but the crab legs are dead. Now, the left-hand side animal, again, is out of attacks, but the right-hand side is not. So they get to keep continuing until they have used all of their parts. Armored Claw is going to attack the padded feet. 2 dice, 1 hit, but remember, gets to re-roll dice, still just 1, so 1 damage. And then Quills, the final for this round, 2 dice, 1 hit, that's all it needed. The left-hand side animal is dead. we have completed the battle. The wasp has proven victorious. And that's all there is to this. You have watched a complete playthrough of a BioForge creature creation and battle creation phase. Thanks for watching.